Economy Innovations Community Programme is fully funded by ESF, as you can see down there in the bottom right, which means that the participants that take part in the programme do so fully funded. There's no cost for taking part in the CEIC programme. We're running the programme across the Cardiff Capital region and the Swansea Bay region. So we have two separate cohorts that are, in fact, we've got 3 running at the moment in both Cardiff and Swansea, and we're funded to deliver another 4, which will be starting this year. Unfortunately, funding runs out, as you'd imagine, with ESF funding by the end of 23. So our last programme we have to start this September. So apart from the climate emergency and another report this morning outlining increasing likelihood of floods, droughts and other planetary issues, apart from that, the funding does run out, so please do take advantage of the programme sooner rather than later. It's a 10-month programme. It's what we would describe as an inter-organisation or organisational community of practice, which supports specifically public and third sector organisations to introduce circular economy innovations or new service solutions into their organisations. I will whiz through this, so I won't spend huge amounts of time fielding your answers to this question. What I will do is most of you will probably be aware that these are 3 different manufacturers of, in this particular pick, 6 different cars. In fact, Volvo, Ford and Mazda came together to work on and collaborate in order to produce approximately 60% of all of the parts in these cars were as a consequence of them collaborating. Now, why did 3 large competitors come together? In order, as you'd imagine, to save costs, to produce more robust, better products with their different knowledge sets and their access to their different skills sets and resources, and to produce those vehicles and the parts therein more quickly. So in essence, the CEIC programme is founded, or is one of the underpinning principles is open innovation. So what we're doing is bringing public service practitioners together in order for you as different organisations to collaborate to reduce costs, of introducing circular economy innovation, to do that more quickly and to do it more robustly. So fundamentally, that's what the programme's about. It's about bringing you together within a community of practice in order for you to solve some existing challenges that you've got, so that you develop some solutions that will reduce the carbon footprint of your organisation or support the movement to a circular economy through that collaboration. So what does the programme look like? This is the conceptual framework. So as mentioned on the first slide, we house the programme within a community of practice. We do that for a number of reasons. Firstly, we set up relationships whereby you become critical friends to each other, you become peer support, but also we develop a mechanism that can then be sustained beyond the 10 months of our programme. And in our view, all innovation has to have a purpose, and the purpose of this innovation programme is to reduce the carbon footprint primarily of your organisations by developing solutions to challenges that you currently have. Obviously, all organisations need to meet the 2030 targets, and this gives you an excellent opportunity to collaborate to meet those net zero targets. So we start the programme by introducing you to innovation dynamics, helping you understand some of the fundamentals of innovation. Then we take you through the 5 and support you through the 5 stages of the design thinking model. So that's an empathy phase or stage, then a stage where you define and ensure that the challenge that you are looking at is fully explored and with users, with stakeholders and with colleagues before moving to develop solutions in that ideation phase. We then support you to prototype the solution that's developed and then test that solution and learn from that testing within your organizations. And then we ensure there's opportunity to reflect and capture the learning from the new process or new solution development and your individual and organizational learning in terms of the tools and techniques that you've been introduced to. So the full program overview looks like this. I've just talked you through what we cover in terms of the 10 workshops. So that's this stream that runs through the middle. We also offer site visits. Now those site visits are for two reasons. Firstly, for you to bring in knowledge where required. So Carol this morning is presenting not only to you as this wider webinar, but one of the cohorts that we've got running at the moment that are looking at the carbon footprint of their built environment. And there is obvious overlaps, which Carol will touch on, with foundational economy and circular economy. So those site visits are opportunities to bring in knowledge, but also to go out to sites and access knowledge of circular economy principles in action. One example there is we go down to the Burn Centre and use that as a workshop day, but they talk through how they've developed an active building there and the other facilities they got on the site to educate mainly schools in the region on circular economy principles. And throughout the 10 months of the programme, that the groups within each cohort are supported to develop a new service solution or new product. And in the first part of the programme, we take you through exercises and activities so that we do form each of the cohorts into a community of practice. So hopefully that gives you a clear outline of what the programme looks like. We aren't a traditional, what some might describe as a chalk and talk programme. We're very much found in the pedagogy of the programme, the delivery of the programme on social learning theory principles. And so these shots are all taken from the first 2 days of the programme, where we introduce people to challenges that allow them to reflect and capture their learning in terms of those exercises. And those, for us, those exercises allow us to introduce some of those key principles of innovation. In terms of the design thinking model, some of you might have come across that before, although there's a slide here that tells you a little bit more. So it is a process of ensuring you fully understand and empathize with users, stakeholders, prior to defining the exact problem you're going to look at. That often leads to the problem being broken down, and then decisions are made around which particular aspect of the problem or challenge you're going to look at within the 10 months. Then obviously developing solutions through that ideation phase. And then, as mentioned, we support to prototype and test. A programme very similar to this has been run previously. In fact, we've run multiple programmes. This is some of the impact from the last programme that we run with, amongst others, Dŵr Cymru, Ford, Abbey Glass, Forest Glass, the Health Dispensary. And between them, those 5 organisations, they saved over £500,000 in terms of costs and reduced their carbon footprint by over about 200k of carbon footprint. I've got not only quantitative data in terms of the impact of that programme. There's some links here, and we'll share this presentation afterwards to managers from each of the organisations talking about the impact of the programme for them and on their organisation. We've also got some case studies on the website that you can access to see some of the work that's been done during our program and the impact it's had thereafter. So I'll quickly run through one example that is from the last program. As you could probably imagine, this comes from Dŵr Cymru. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I don't know if somebody's got their mic on. Yeah, that seems to have disappeared. Thank you for that. So one of the challenges that Welsh Water brought was their ability to understand, in essence, some of the challenges that they had underground with their pipes and leaking, and that often manifested itself in water quality, and they wouldn't really know about that until one of their customers phoned. So they decided to look at this piece of equipment and the way they were analysing that water quality. They did that. We mixed the groups. They went through the empathy phase by understanding who to speak to, who those stakeholders were. They went then through some early understanding of defining that problem and developing a problem statement and looking at which specific problem to look at. And then, as you can see on the decision matrix, they rationalised and decided which one to work on first. They then got in a room with their suppliers and those that could help develop the initial solutions that they had developed through the kind of brainstorming and ideation phase. And from that, and obviously they're cutting this 14-month period much shorter, they developed the system that you can see on the right here, where there's a camera that actually goes down into the standpipe now, and they've got rid of the older piece of kit that analysed the water. And that's the actual new solution in practice, only needing one person, and there's far less digging required because previously when they did find a problem, they would drill inspection holes every 10 to 30 meters. So the clear benefits for them, obviously cost savings, carbon footprint because they're digging far less, but also the collaboration with their suppliers has enabled them to start looking at other projects. So I'm conscious of time. What I'd like to do is, here's an example of the map they produced after the first few days to understand that the process of developing the solution that they were looking at. But what I'd like to do is just stop, have a 5-minute Q&A, and then we'll break for Carol's presentation.